So we are sitting in a vehicle right now. We are going to be 4 suspects. I'm going to be the kingpin of the suspects. And we've got Liam at the back and 2 other suspects that's going to climb in. With this, we're going to have, we are going to be then caught, apprehended, or whatever they call it in the police system. And then one guy is going to get away. The dog is then going to get into the vehicle where he's going to eliminate scent and then follow the scent of the guy that is not with us. So he's going to get into the vehicle. He's going to see that A, B, C is caught, but D is missing, and he will then follow the scent of D. So my fellow criminals over here are these guys. We've just robbed a bank. That was the main guy who said which bank we must rob. He was the most violent. This, what's your name, buddy?
Pendul.
We don't ask names before the time, so we don't give anybody up in this criminal situation. But Pendula,
Yeah.
he's going to be the runner, and we are not going to give him up. We are good buddies of his, so we're not going to give him up. But let's see if the dog will find him. That's right, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we're gonna stand next to the car.
Okay, so we're going to stand next to the car, he says. We have for scent elimination. We've now been caught by the police. So we're going to get out, and I'm going to show you what the dog's going to do.
Just stand there by the vehicle,
Come, Liam.
or in front, or wherever you want to.
There goes the runner.
Dit is een mijne voor mij. Dus ik denk als iemand die een search and rescue neemt,
So
band het hulle met hulle hond.
here he comes. So he's eliminating the people that's standing over here. These are all cops and special forces.
Hy gaan nou net die, so he's going to put the harness in the vehicle, and he's going to target him.
Obviously he knows I'm the bastard.
Okay, now he's going to do the starting circle. Hulle is kleiner, hulle is kleiner. Ja, nee, hulle is definitief kleiner.
Je reed je dat zelf op keel.
Ja, ons het
Zo weer.
Let's see if we see the child.
Kijk wat ze is, ze heet snap nou.
Check this. Okay.
There we
Now
go.
he's going to harness him up. He's going to let.
So the harness gets put on. This is an indicator or trigger that they're going to work now. So all that before is he was eliminating scent and see who's over here. He puts the dog into the car now. This dog is gathering info inside there.
I think he's ready. Take off.
Now, just to help you guys, the guy actually turned this way, that way, and you could see how the dog now used his nose looking for it. There must be scent stuck. It's very windy. Yeah, we've got an interesting situation coming up. We've got 2 guys. One of them is our suspect. Good day, everybody. So today I've got a very special guest with us. A little while back we went to visit Swaziland to go and work dogs over there and train with our Eswatini PSA club, and also worked with Ian's dogs, and they showed us what they do with their dogs over there. In one of our previous videos I did mention to look out for this video, and this is now a couple of weeks later, but eventually Ian could make it down to us, or up to us, or sideways to us, but after all the interesting things that's happening in our country. I'm Charles and you're watching Our Protection Dogs, and this is Ian, and I'm going to let him introduce himself, and at the same time, while you introduce yourself, Ian, I also want to tell us what do you do.
Okay, we are based there in Swaziland. The name of our unit is called Montigny K9 Academy. We are focused on fighting crime. That was our main objectives. So we have a whole department with rangers and risk, controlling all the risk factors around the big forest that we have. But then the dog unit was there specifically, basically to fight, in the beginning, fires and arson fires. That is what the purpose was of the dog unit. But in the meantime, part of that strategy is also to look at all the crime in the forest, but also in the surrounding communities, as part of a Hearts and Minds campaign, to get the communities as part of our risk solutions for all kinds of crime.
I mean, the size of those forests, what's the size of that forest?
75,000 hectares is the total of the forest, and some of the areas are a little bit detached from the big main base of the forest, and we have about 11 chiefdoms around the forest, which is an interesting thing to manage on its own.
So, what is an average loss of a fire? If you have to think like an average size fire in a forest like that, what is the loss in monetary value, and also basically the loss in time and trees and workmen and those kind of things? So,
in the sappy days, the average fire season was a loss of about 1,000 hectares. Yeah. So that will equate to around about 40 million a year that was lost. So it took us about a year to get up and going since we bought this place over, and currently we have driven that figure down to around about 30 hectares a year. Some years were only 5, and some years is a little bit more. So one of the main factors was Sappi used to have about 170 arson fires a year, which is what creates this 1,000 hectare loss. All the other types of fires, like lightning fires, don't give much damage, but arson fires is a big problem. So we have also driven that figure down to 1 or 2 a year for the last 4 years.
So I think there's a lot of people thinking now, how the hell does the dogs get through these fires, and do they actually run there with water buckets or stuff? So now I want you to explain to us now, how did these dogs that you guys implemented, you personally implemented over there, how did that make the difference in the impact of the fires and lessening it and bringing it down to 30 hectares a year? How, why, when?
I think the main factor will be that there was suddenly consequences for the nonsense you do, which was never the case before. So we trained very hard with the dogs. They are trailing dogs, making the starts a little bit more easy when it comes to fire scenes. Okay. But it is still probably the most difficult work that you can do, is to try to pick up a trail from a fire scene. Okay. But every time there's a fire, we try and establish the cause of the fire, and if there's any doubt that it could be an arson fire and not caused by something else, the dogs come in, they pick up the trail, they run and they go and identify either the household where the guy comes from, or if the person is still there, he will ID the person. Okay. So then, I think in the first year we did more than 7 people went to jail, which was never happened in 60 years. And that message went out far and wide, and the arson fires just stopped. But in the same time, you create the channel to report things rather than start a fire. Okay. So it's not just a consequence thing, but the dogs played a huge role in driving those arson fires down.
So basically you guys will go then and pinpoint where the fire started. It works basically like a cone, am I correct?
Yeah.
You go there, and from there you'll use the dogs who picks up the trail of the fire starter, and then you would trail him. And how long are those trails? How long are those tracks sometimes that you guys have to follow?
Between 3 and 6 kilometers is our average.
Yep.
That is our average. But the main thing is the time you need to wait for the whole area to cool down.
Okay.
You know, and also 100 plus people will actually fight the fire. Sometimes over 300 people. So yeah, you need to wait a bit. Make sure you get the crews out of the area to a specific area where you know if the dog pick up a trail and go there, no, that's not the right place. Let's try again. And then the dog will pick up the right trails and then run from there. Yeah.
Tell us a real incident that happened that was a real nice success story that sticks out in your head about a fire.
Okay. Phew, there's plenty. But this one was very good. We never trained for this, which is one of our mottos. Don't deploy if you haven't trained for it. But hey, life is life. So this guy started the fire. He was actually seen by a tower, a man in the tower. Fire starts, and another fire starts, distance 300, 500 meters away from each other. Fire. So now we know, okay, we've got an arsonist. Bring the dogs in, you start from the first fire. He links one fire to the next fire to the next fire. And in the meantime, it's still going because we can't now wait this time. Because this guy is still lighting fire, so you need to catch him. So the dog trailed him and trailed him and trailed him, and then the handler said, he's reading something way different than this dog now. He doesn't know what's going on. We said, well, let him go. Just as long as he's trailing, follow him. Don't stop now. And then the dog went to a horse that was standing in the middle of the bush. And from that horse, we could then link the man to the fires, and he confessed.
So he's all standing over there.
It was his horse. So he was following the man on horseback. That's why he could light those fires as quickly as he did. And in the whole story was basically those are guys trying to take Dagga across the border. So they start the fires as a, distraction. So that they can cross the border over there. But yeah, that was an interesting one for us. And from that time on, we started to bring in guys on bicycles as the first training step, and then guys on horseback. So we started to bring it into the training.
It's weird. It's because context training or scenario-based training is like you think you've thought of all the scenarios, and then you go out in the field, and then there's another scenario, and that scenario opens so many doors to lead off of that.
Yes.
So it never. That's what I also enjoy about this. When you get to a stage where you're training scenarios, is there is so many different scenarios, and the dog can get used to. And then the other story that we spoke about, I found very interesting, is how your success of what you guys did then went into for the whole country, basically with the police and rape cases especially.
Yes. Now we have done. I just looked at the stats this morning. The last 2 years we did 309 missions. So that's more than one every 3 days. But more than 80% of them are now we running with the police on all kinds of cases throughout the whole of Swaziland. The big impact cases is obviously the armed robberies and the rapes especially. All right. They are very difficult. It's not so much for the dog, but for the handlers. But the worst cases we do is the missing children cases. They have a big impact on the communities when we have successes. So it's good for us. It's good for them. But then in many cases we will not find have a good story at the end of those missing children cases. So those are very difficult cases for the handlers. We even had to take some of them, well, most of them, to some trauma counseling afterwards because of what they experience. It's very interesting that the dogs also experience those trauma. They will trail 6-8 kilometers with the tail tucked in on some rape cases. Totally tucked in. But they will still follow and ID the person. But the one female that we have, a very soft dog, very good dog, but she's soft. She ID'd guys, but far away, where she will normally come right up, expecting to get the reward from this guy. But here she IDs the guy, but far away. So tail in between, and the trauma was there for her the whole time. Yeah.
Goodness. I remember, I think a couple of years back there was a earthquake and there was a lot of people all over the world going for search and rescue. And then the one handler over there said that every so many people that they find, obviously it wasn't good that people were dead, then they'll put somebody that's alive. So they just find somebody that's alive with the dog, because the dog they actually go into depression.
Yeah.
It's like they don't want to look for anymore because it's just not finding anybody. So it's really sad, but it's also very good. Now the thing is, which struck me the most, and everything that you're doing is just like how something small started with bringing the dogs in, which turned out to such a big thing that I need you to explain to us about this honey story now, because even the first thing my son said, now him and my son are we love honey, so whenever my wife buys honey, she always got some label on it that says, even if it's a mental label, leave the bloody honey alone. We have to eat it in our porridge or our tea or something, because him and I can go to town with honey. And when you said you use the dogs to find the honey, his ears were like a little Jack Russell's ears, and obviously mine as well. So tell us, how did this now come into the honey and how that works?
So, since we now stopped the arson fires, our biggest risk of fires at the moment in the forest is community members coming in, finding a nest, trying to smoke them out, and then it could even be 3 days later the fire only starts in the forest. But that becomes our biggest risk. So we had to make a plan to try and try to keep this to the minimum. So we have a deal with the community. Say you find a nest, you can phone us, we come take it out in a nice fashion. We don't want to kill the bees. And then we even pay you your $30 for finding the nest, and we give you all the honey. So, but some people are just, naughty people. So they like to burn, to get the honey out, and then it becomes our problem after they have left. So luckily the dogs, there's more scent articles for the dog in that scenario. So to scent the dog off either the honeycomb that the guy picked up or the little piece of cloth he used to smoke, it's very easy for the dogs to go and find the people. Yesterday we had 2 of them, of which one we ID'd the person, and the other one was an unfortunate. They went straight to a bus stop and left in a car. So that is the consequence side. You don't follow the rules, we are going to find you. All right, and then from there on, normally we give it over to the chiefs, and they will find them goats or cattle or whatever, pretty expensive stuff. To try and keep this down. But the problem still remains. It was over 1,000 nests a year that is found in this way. So our risk is still high. Plus, if they they destroy, then most of the nests are in the ground. So they will destroy the nest totally, and take out what they can, and therefore you will lose more and more of the honey, a hive. They won't come back, or they will die not having enough honey throughout the winter, all that type of stuff. So it's not the right thing. So we said, no, we must do something else, and we took dogs, we imprinted them on honey, and say, all right, now it's not easier. So I've got the one dog that they roam 200-300 meters, 400 meters away from the handler. Now, first of all, it's a forest. You can't see them. So now you got this dog running around, doing his thing. Yes, they are exceptionally good in finding the scent cones, honing on, working the scent cones until they can find the honey. But the problem we found is he goes and lies down like a normal detection dog. You don't know where he is. So we said, okay, so the other dog we're going to train different. She finds the honey and she almost does the shuttle thing like you will do with finding people.
Bring you back.
So she'll shuttle in, sit in front of you, tell her, very good, show me, and then she'll take you to the nest.
Oh, nice.
So that's the one thing. The other issue we had is, now you're working with bees.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so what are we going to do with these dogs? So we put on the boots, and we have a little net covering that goes over the head.
Okay.
Yeah. It takes a lot of work for the dog to actually get used to these
photo
things.
Of that. That'll be very funny.
So we got the 2 dogs that we try to find the wild nests before the community members can start fires at those nests. We extract them, we put them in boxes, and we have community projects where we actually give them these nests with honey, and they can then from there on harvest what they want.
Very, very interesting. Making a whole community thing out of it, doing it properly. They still get the honey, but you guys are just doing it in a quite normal way of collecting honey and using the dogs. I find it very, very interesting. We were there as a family to see what they do, and how I'm telling you that it's not just forest; it's also very mountainous. So it's not a very easy terrain to work in. But a lot of times we as people tend to think that, you know, a dog's like a cell phone, you turn it on and it works, or or I always say it's like in walk on water, but it's still just a dog at the end of the day, and they can only work as much as they can, but through proper training you can get them to do all of these kind of things. How many dogs have you got in the unit right now? 14.
Yeah. Some of them are specialized in just trailing, and some of them are a bit of a dual type dog. A small story of this one, also a honey dog. Put him on a theft case. He ran the case 2-3 kilometers, and then suddenly the handler said, "Hey, something changed now." We are in constant contact with them on the trail. You know, so the moment they see something they don't know, they phone. So something changed, and we said, "Follow the dog. Is he trailing?" Yeah, sort of. And he went another 500-600 meters out of the trail to indicate the nest. Turn around. The guy said, "Very good, well done." All right. And then he said, "Go to work." He turned around, came pick up the trail, and he went and actually ID'd the guy that started.
By the way, there's some money over there.
Exactly. So that's the problem with the dual dogs. Yeah. But we have some dual dogs, and then we have very specialized dogs for trailing.
Okay. I remember there was one incident you guys told me about. Was it the cigarettes that got stolen as well? That was quite an interesting story as well.
Yeah, no, we have done a lot of different things. One of the things that we love to do in cases like this is an ID parade. Yeah. So that becomes, that looks like magic, where you can line up. The case study says 6 people is max on an ID parade, but we have done over 200 on an ID parade, and then in a cigarette case, if somebody touched a cigarette, that is enough for the dog to go and ID the person in amongst all those people. Yeah, that has a big effect. Yeah.
So Ian, in short, in your words, would you have done, if you had it over, would you do it again?
Yes.
With the dogs?
Yes, for
and
sure.
What is the future for you guys with the dogs in that country?
Look, we still want the communities to be part of what we're trying to achieve there. The owners of the company are very, very big-hearted people that wants to improve everybody's lives in Swaziland if they can. So that is our main focus still. Improve our service to the communities so we can stop crime wherever it happens, because nobody wants crime. Yeah. But now the issue is still, you know, obviously I would like to train up more of the police so that they can have that capability themselves. So that will be our next logical step, is to go that route.
Fantastic. If anybody wants to go and see what you guys do, where can they, which websites, or where can they go and have a look and see what you guys do on a weekly basis? I know you're on Facebook, but if there's anybody that watches that want to go and see what you guys do on a weekly basis, where do they go and have a look?
We also have a website called Montigny K9 Academy.com.
Okay. So we'll put that down in the bottom thing below, and then you can go and have a look. And guys, it's really worth it. It's quite interesting to see what they do. I like the cases that's not so harsh as what they do sometimes, because it does touch a person, like Ian said, especially when it comes to children. But I still do think that what I saw that day, the motivation of the guys that's doing it, they're proud of what they're doing, the dogs perform well, they have a nice little community there that's like same level, or not level-headed, or all like-minded people with the dogs, and it's like everything is about the dogs. It's like the dogs. And just before we started with this video, Ian was telling me how they're going to sell property, and he's getting other property now for his dogs, and the big smile he gets for the money he's going to spend on his training facilities. So I really would like to ask that people go and see, and also if there's any input that can be given to you guys, or just mere following them and see what they do on a day-to-day basis. And this all because of dogs. So for me, that is really, really, really amazing. Ian, anything that you would like to say?
No, geez, just I would love that was one of my first objectives, was that there will be more of these units established right across the country of South Africa, because it is one of the best ways to actually get a community working together, and because the common goal is to make everybody's lives better, not to have this crime thing. So we got one satellite station in South Africa that is doing even more work than us, having great successes, and that whole area, same story, the fires just disappeared. You know, so that is what I would love to get across to people is, if you have good training and you have good guidance from somebody that know what they're doing, we all need it, then it is very possible to get the dogs back to where they have a good reputation, like it used to be, and nobody looked down on, it sort of works. No, it really works.
It does.
If you put in the time and you have the right connections, then things work very well.
Before we go, something that you just said there now is put the time in, and that's why these things don't work. Is people don't manage it properly. They don't put the proper time into it. There's not proper training. There's not proper dogs for it. And unfortunately, in life, it works like that. We all know this, that if you want to do something properly, you need to do it from the start properly, and you have to see it through. And I've seen a lot of places, a lot of security companies and companies like that fail in their canine unit because of lack of management. And the management that you guys do over there, each dog's got a file, and that every training session gets put down. I think it's really, really awesome. I think that's why it works. So for me, I really take my hat off what these guys do with the dogs, and they've got really a bunch of fun dogs, even Dobermans. But there's a, so if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to our channel, like this video. If there's any questions or anything that you need to ask, I'm going to leave a contact for Ian below. If you're interested in setting up a unit in your area when it comes to the fires, especially in South Africa, it's a big thing in South Africa, the fires. Please get a hold of us or of Ian. It'll be a thing. And if you get a hold of us, we're just going to put you through to Ian in any case. And thank you for your time. Go very far to get here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.